Hi guys, welcome back. How was your day? It's me again, Deratailor, and this is the part 2 of the video that you were watching. And if you've not watched the part 1, then I advise you watch part 1 before coming to watch part 2. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So the first thing I'm going to be calculating is the down length of how we are going to be making our gathered balloon dress, right? So I just wrote the down length here, and the baby's down length is 22 inches, right? And then as you can see on the screen, I wanted the plain material to be 9 inches in length, so I'm going to be minusing 22 minus 9. I wanted the plain material to be 9 inches in length, so 22 minus 9 gave me 13 inches, and I just wrote 13 inches at this point. I wanted the down length, that's the plain material, to be 9 inches in length, so 22 minus 9 gave me 13 inches, so I just wrote 13 inches. So automatically 9 inches is for the plain, right? And then 13 inches is going to be for the Kampala. So that's just how I got my calculation. I hope you understand. 13 inches is the wrapper, 9 inches is the black. So that's the length I'm going to be working with now. I am now going to start working with this my Kampala over here, and then I represented it in a form of gathers. If you can cut your gathers, then that's fine, but for those that can't cut it, I left space for my zipper allowance area for the back. So this is the back and this is the front, and they are both on fold. The front is on fold, the back is on fold. You could see the space I left, about 1.5 inch for my zipper allowance. Now for the length of this my Kampala, remember it was 13 inches we measured, so this length here is 13 inches. Is 13 inches in length, and I added 1.5 inch for my zipper allowance. Sorry, I added 1.5 inch for my stitching allowance, not zipper allowance, pardon. So you could see the length here, it was giving me 14.5 inches because I added 1.5 inch for what? For my stitching allowance. Now for the width of it, to calculate your width, is just your waist times 3. If your waist is 24 times 3 would give you the width of the gathers. So I do have here my plain black, and the black is 9.5 inches. 9 inches is for the main length, and 0.5 inch is for stitching allowance. So I also represented it. I made sure that my black material and the Kampala are the same in the width, so their width is the same thing, the wideness of it is the same thing, so that it will be able to fit perfectly well. I made sure I cut out my black for the front and also for the back. So what I'm just doing here is I'm going to be stitching it together with the front, the back, and also the back parts, the 2 zipper allowance for the back. So after stitching it for the front, this is what it is looking like. I made sure I stitched the plain and the Kampala together. I also did this for my back area, and I did it for the other back area. Remember, it's 2 back area because we divided the zipper allowance area together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be stitching the front and the back parts together. I just placed them both on each other. That's, I stitched the front and the back part together, the front part of our gathers to the back part of our gathers together. That's just what I stitched. After I was done stitching it, this is what it's looking like. So I just turned it to the front so that you could see, and I also folded the bottom part of it, that's the plain black area. I went ahead to fold it together. So that's just what I did. And the next thing we are going to do is we are just going to be using this cutting bias here. I wanted it to just like have 3 combinations, just as you can see on the screen. So I'm going to be using my cutting bias to cover the joining I made between the Kampala and the plain black. So that's just what I'm going to be doing. I'll be using my cutting bias to cover the joining all around the joining areas. That's just what I did. I'll use my cutting bias to cover all around the joining areas of it. That's just it. And after that, I'm going to be running double stitches at the upper part so that I will be able to draw my gathers. After I was done covering, this is how I was able to cover the cutting bias to the joining I made between the plain black and my Kampala. So you could see everywhere is covered. You could see that everywhere is covered from the front to the back part. They are what? All covered, and this is what it's looking like after I covered it together. Now we are just going to start drawing our gathers, just basically the way you normally draw your gathers. I went ahead to start doing it, and the baby's waist is 23 inches, so I'm going to be adding 2 inches extra. So I'm not going to be drawing these gathers to be 23 inches. 23 plus 2, that's 2 inches for the allowance sake, right? 23 plus 2 is 25 inches. So at the end of the day, I have to make sure that these gathers I'm drawing is supposed to give me 25 inches in width. And I was done drawing these gathers here. I believe everybody is familiar with the way they normally draw gathers, right? So I just made sure that the waist was tallying. If it was not tallying, I'm just going to go ahead to adjust it till I made sure that it was tallying all together, right? So you could see that it was giving me 25 inches. So that's it, we got what we wanted, right? So the next thing I'm just going to do is to make sure that I add my lining to it. If you want to achieve a balloon gathered effect on a dress you are making, then you guys, you have to work with a lining. If you do not work with a lining, it's not going to give you what you want. It's lining that is going to make the gather to be looking so balloonish and so full. So I made sure my lining waist was tallying with the Kampala's waist, that's the main fabric waist, which was 25 inches. And I'm just going to be joining it, stitching them both on the waist area. I'm going to be stitching them on the waist area. The lining is 25 inches in width, and the Kampala is 25 inches in width. And after I was done stitching them both, this is what it was looking like, guys. You can see this is how it's looking like. We already got what we wanted. So I'm also going to be stitching the side together, joining the lining and the Kampala together, the side area, the both side area. I went ahead to stitch them both. So that's just what it is. You guys, I'm not able to give you a full view, but I just placed it on the ground, and this is the full view of it. You can see how full it is already looking. And the reason it was like this is because, first of all, I made sure that the wideness of the waist is very many. That's why I said times 23 times 3, that's the width of it. And I also added my lining. That was how I was able to achieve this full effect on these gathers. So the next thing we are going to be doing now is to be joining the waist area of our up with the waist area of the gathers together. So all you just have to do is to make sure that the right side of both areas are facing each other, and I place it with the zipper allowance. I make sure the zipper allowance area are both on each other, and then I'm just going to be stitching them both together. You can see the way I'm stitching it, you can see the way I'm joining it to stitch it. I just placed it on the zipper allowance area of both each other, and I will be making my stitches on it. That's just what I did. So you can see, I'm just giving you a closer view for you to understand what I did. You can see what it is looking like. I just turned it to the front so that you can see. So this is it. You can just iron the waist area so that it would relax. Yes, you can iron it. What I just did now was to fold it into two, making sure that the zipper allowance of both areas are meeting each other. You can just see the way I folded it into two, making sure that the zipper allowance are meeting each other, because I'm going to start attaching my zip right now. So I'm just going to show you what I'm doing. Just watch carefully what I'm doing. I folded it into two, making sure the zipper allowance are meeting each other. So that's just what I did here. And then I just brought in my zip. I'm going to be working with my zip now. This is the zip I'm using. This is a plain black zip, of course. And then I placed it at the top of it. I just placed it at the top of it. That is where my zip is going to be starting from. And then I just run it all along to where I wanted my zip to stop. You can see what I did. I just ran it straight to the body of the dress, to where I wanted the zip to stop. This is where I wanted my zip to stop. And then using my chalk, I'm going to be chalking down that area. Yes, that's just what I did. And then for this remaining part, I'm going to take it to my machine and stitch it. This remaining part, I'm going to be stitching it with my machine.